live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. One moment, people. One moment. All right. Can we get a 5x5 now if you can hear me? So we're going to, okay. So if we are live, let me try this one more time. People, tomorrow night is Wednesday with Niall. This is, now it's back. Good. CW Terry, good to see you. Space Jeezel, glad you're here. Brandon Taylor, glad you're here. Another Brandon. Mr. Galloway, glad you're here. Stacy Michaels, good to see you. Seventh Son, poor guy had to pay to say that. He figured, I guarantee he's going to see it this way. Seventh Son, do you see what time it is? Got the clock fixed. Hey, Charlie, good to see you. Charlie Murphy. Definitely a one of the pillars, isn't he? People, tomorrow night is Wednesdays with Niall. It's my favorite night of the week. Really is. Love that series, and everyone else seems to. So that's awesome. We get a lot of really positive feedback about it. And I said this a minute ago, but you probably didn't hear it because, well, I was doing my mime routine. But the tomorrow night, with Niall's permission, we'd like to start a half an hour late. As it turns out, there's a family function going on, and we just don't want to end up screwing up. Realistically, we might make it back and be able to pull it off by 6 o'clock, but we're going to be cutting it really close and probably driving fast and taking chances. So we figure we're safer if we just do tomorrow night at 6:30, and that is if the Star Tomorrow Night show gives us a thumbs up on that, then it is going to be 6:30 tomorrow night. So we will not be back tomorrow at the same bat time, but we will be on the same bat channel, and we are going to have our Wednesdays with Niall series continuing, and hopefully, that gels with him. And I would have told him earlier, but I just found out about this a couple of minutes ago. Wanted to make sure that we, as long as we know ahead of time, says Miss V, perfect. And I think that that's probably going to be the case with, I'm hoping that's the case with Niall as well. So, people, a lot of things have been going on, in the lifeboat. We really have had a lot of really cool things happening in the last few weeks. And one of the things that has been happening is we got a lot of new folks that are coming on board the boat. And what's funny is I got an email from somebody that, and I'm not saying anyone's name, so I'm not picking on anyone out loud, but this is just worthy because this is really funny. I got an email from someone that said, so I found your channel about a week ago, and I love what you guys are doing. It was a lovely email. It really was. But he then proceeded to say that he has watched every video. He has gone back and he has watched every video that we have done. And not to say that I don't believe him, right? But I don't believe him. If you put on the lifeboat and started watching it live around the clock, I don't think you could watch every one of those videos. And that's if you're getting no sleep or anything else. There's a lot of videos, people. There's 400 and some odd videos, and the vast majority of them are 1 hour long. So I bring that up not to pick on this individual as much as to say, when new people come here, there's a really good chance you're not going to go back and watch every single video. And we wouldn't expect you to. We really wouldn't, especially since the majority of people the majority of people that are coming here are really getting more out of the group therapy kind of an aspect of the lifeboat than they're going to get from anything else. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And for that reason, you're not going to get the same bang for your buck if you're going back and watching all of the early episodes, because the interaction with the crew is really what makes us unique. The content that we put up is it's content. It's something that we're proud of, but what we're most proud of is the crew and what the interaction and all of the things that people are doing to help one another. Hello, Scott. Good to see you here. Welcome on board the boat. So with that in mind, there's some stuff that we talked about a lot in the very beginning that if you're kind of new to the boat, you may have missed, and it's really kind of important, I think, that we go over it. No matter how long we do this, no matter how many shows we do, there is a recurring theme that comes up with every single new person that comes on the boat. And for that matter, for every new person who is attempting sobriety, whether they're doing it here or whether they're doing it Plan A style or whatever style they're going with, when you first start to get sober, when you first start heading down that train, one of the things that we hear from everybody time and time again is they're not using their substance of choice to get high, right? That's really not, the reason is not so that they can feel good. The reason is so that they can not feel bad. And that may sound like I'm splitting hairs, but I'm not. There is a very, very big difference between using a substance to feel good and using a substance to not feel bad. And, each time somebody comes on here, we hear the reason that they're using. And 99% of the time, there is something very traumatic. There is an underlying cause to why they're taking drugs or alcohol or whatever their choice is. And that underlying cause, that pain that's driving, is always something that, the drugs are there to kill. And really, we went over this a lot in the very beginning of the lifeboat. But number one, we're not mad at you, right? This makes perfect sense to every single person on this show, because we've all been there and done that. Every single one of us used our substance of choice for the exact same reason. Now, I'm going to get an email from someone that says, the only reason I ever use drugs is because I like getting high. You know what? I'm sure that there are those people. But again, they're going to be in the minority. The vast majority of people who use drugs or alcohol use them as a coping mechanism. They use them to push some emotion in their life deeper and deeper and deeper into the recesses of their mind and into the recesses of their soul. And drugs and alcohol are wildly effective for this. It works. There's no mistake in it. If you're really trying to kill spiritual, emotional, or physical pain, drugs and chemicals are great for that. They really are. The trouble is, you're writing a check on an account that doesn't have any money in it. And you're writing that check every single day. Niall, we are leading into these subjects on the Wednesday show, but forgive me, the old link died, so I missed the first 2 minutes. I need you, Niall, since you missed the first 2 minutes, we need you, if you can do it. We want to start at 6:30, so a half an hour later than we usually do. Hopefully that is okay with you, because we announced the boat. I kind of thought you were there, and I apologize. But please, if that's okay with you, we'd like to start just a half an hour later. As I explained to the crew once when they couldn't hear me, and then once again when they could, that
guys, it's my fault, by the way. Okay.
No, it's not anybody's fault. It's just going to be one of those things that he'll be driving 500 miles an hour and trying to get back, and God forbid something happens to Mark, people. I mean, this is and we're going to be back in caveman times.
Well, yeah, my daughter's got show choir, and she dropped a show on us last night, so it was like, what am I supposed to do? But yeah. Anyway,
yeah. So hopefully now that's all right with you. I'm hoping that we can go just a half an hour later. And so back to the subject matter, people, before I squirrel really deep and forget what I'm talking about. Drugs are an effective way to kill pain. Unfortunately, as I say, you're writing a check on an account that has no cash. And the longer you continue to do this, because it is an everyday thing, every single day, you get up and write an emotional check that you don't have the emotional wherewithal to cash. It's our way of not coping. It's our way of not dealing. And you know something? Very often, this pain, this isn't trivial stuff. For a lot of people, the pain that they're feeling, isn't necessarily anything that they did wrong. Now, in my case, most of the pain that came on in my life was something that I brought on, truthfully. But in a lot of cases, we heard someone last night that was talking about losing two family members, basically, at the exact same time. And that kind of pain, that's real. That's absolutely real. And it's life-changing, and it's debilitating. And, drugs or alcohol really look like the answer. And as I said, it'll take away that pain for the day. The trouble is, the following day, you will need to do that again. And the following day, you will need to do that again. And eventually, people, you got to pay the piper. Eventually that, all of those hot checks that you're writing with your brain all come due. And when that happens, it can be spiritually and emotionally devastating. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us as addicts? And there's a right way and there's a wrong way to cope with pain. And I could sit and give you the 5 methods of coping that are recommended. And I've done this in other videos, but really what it boils down to is this. It comes down to 2 options. And we know the first one, right? The first one is you take the top off the bottle, right? Or you put a needle in your arm, or you snort something, or whatever your drug of choice is. That's the first go-to. And it is the first one I list for a reason, because for all of us here and on the boat, that was our first choice. made perfect sense to us. We get high, makes the pain go away. It's logical, right? We know it works and we go to what works. The second option, people, is to cope. And every single person is going to learn coping skills. They're going to learn them at a different speed. They're going to learn them in a different way. There's going to be, again, just like sobriety, for every person out there who's fighting the good fight, they have their own method for how you're going to cope with these things. But I will make you a promise. The one method that doesn't work is to bottle it up. The one method that isn't going to work and has a really good chance of literally destroying your life is to take that emotion, bury it deep inside as far as you can. And, 90% of the time, everything we talk about, doesn't matter whether you're a man, a woman, whatever the case may be, right? It doesn't matter, because addiction doesn't care what color you are. It doesn't care what gender you are. It doesn't care your sexual preference. It doesn't care, right? Addiction is the least racist and least prejudiced thing on the planet. It wants to destroy everybody. But there is a very big difference between men and women, especially in the society that we live in today, right? Men are supposed to be, we put our chest out and, we don't show our emotions. And there's all of these different things. We did a show on this, right? All of the different things that society says a man is supposed to be, and what a woman is supposed to be, and blah, 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 right? But when you're a man and you're trying to work through the pain in your life, society has been telling us since John Wayne that if you say, you know what, I'm hurting, that somehow that makes you less of a man. I'm here today to tell you that I am of the firm belief that there's not much out there more manly than dealing with the issues in your life without substances. We all know that that's a difficult thing to do, right? Plan B ain't easy. It's just the right thing to do. It's the right plan. So as a guy, you have an added stigma that society puts on you, but you better get over that, and you better get over it quick, because if you don't, you're going to keep stumbling, you're going to keep falling, and you're going to have to keep getting back up. The best way, people, to deal with all of the stuff in your life is immediately. Truthfully, the best way to deal with things is when they come up. You can run from your problems. The problem with that is, by the time you deal with it, you've been running for a long time and you're exhausted, you're tired, and you're in no position, to fight the fight that you need to fight in order to get over all of the things that are bringing us down. Your best bet, instead of running, is to turn around, stand your ground, and cope. And I know, people, that this sounds a whole lot easier to say than it is to do. But you know something? I'm not a guy that hasn't been there. Trust me on this one. And I don't like talking about the things that I've done in sobriety as if I deserve some kind of a flag or a trophy. But kicking heroin locked in a 6x12-foot concrete, cell with a metal toilet and a roommate is a very, very difficult thing to do. And all you want to do all day long is forget where you're at. You want to forget the pain that you've caused your family. You want to forget the pain you've caused your friends. You want to forget the stupid things that you did to put you in that situation. And there is a guy 2 doors down that's ready to help you forget that for free. Right? Just like writing those checks that you can't cash, they will hand you dope with no money out of your pocket until you're $15,000, $20,000 in debt. And then they will start tracking down your family. And I think we just lost the feed. Okay, good. All right. So, yeah, sorry about that, people. For a second there, I thought we were gone. But I've been there. I did this. I did it in a concrete box with every single negative thing that you could possibly cope with. And during that sobriety, I called home and I, said, I'm doing well in here. I know you don't have a reason to believe that, but, I'm not using, and I'm fighting the good fight. I'm really turning my life around, and I'm getting through all of this. And this was 2018, I think, or 2019. No, it was 2019. And they said, Dad just had a stroke. And he's at the hospital, and this is probably it, Tommy. he's probably not going to get through this one. And I remember that day thinking to myself, you know what, if I get through this crap, there's not much I'm not going to be able to get through, because Christmas in prison is the worst thing in the world. There is nothing. And there are some people on this boat who have been there. They'll back me up on this. The holidays in prison, if you're staying sober in there, your knuckles are white. I don't care what method you're going with. I don't care how long you've got. From November to January the 2nd, your knuckles are white. And it isn't one day at a time. For a lot of that time, it's 1 minute at a time. It's 30 seconds at a time, and you can't go for a walk. You can't do all of the things that we tend to advise people on what to do. Well, you could get yourself a really good book and read it. That was about my only option, spending a lot of time in prayer, but I was there, people. I was there. I remember that pain, and I remember how bad I wanted it to go away. By the grace of God, I was able to get out of prison before my dad passed. He made a really remarkable comeback from that stroke, and to make it another year and a half. But people, I was in there with no ability to even get a hold of people and say, how's he doing? We had certain numbers of calls that you could make. And from that point, once I found out what was going on with him, I would send an email to check up on him. And it was a 5-hour turnaround from the time I sent that email off and they read what I was saying. And then it got to my people and they sent their email and it came back, and the prison, reads it. And then they determine that it can come to me. It's usually about 5 hours. And, you would just sit there on pins and needles. And your brain with those automatic negative thoughts, those ants would start crawling all over your brain going, he's probably already gone. They're probably going to tell you that he's dead as soon as you call, and you just start gritting your teeth. And I remember so badly wanting that pain to just go away. And the best thing that I ever did in my life was cope with it. The best thing that I ever did in my life. People, every single time you get through something like this, every single time you jam on the brakes, you turn around and you say, this is it. I'm not running away from this. I'm dealing with this, and I'm fighting it right here, right where it hit me. It's not just getting over what you just are dealing with. What it's doing is teaching you a skill that you didn't have. Because I promise you, I didn't have that freaking skill. At no point in my life had I ever developed it, because I never had to. At that point, when the tough get going, the going gets high. And that had been my philosophy my entire life. So I remember those feelings, and then getting out and getting into the world and losing my dad, at a halfway house, and having the people there say, no, you can't leave to go be with your family. You're just going to have to. And all of these things, every single time, I promise you, the reason that I could cope with the second one was because I got through the first one. I developed a set of skills. And you know what? You know how I learned to get through this, people? I kid you not. I talked to people, man. I told people how I was feeling. And I'm talking about hardened convicts who had tattoos on their necks and faces. And I would say to them, you know what? I don't know if my dad's going to make it. I've never wanted to get this high. To get high this bad in my life. Like, this is killing me. This is killing me. And guys in there rose to the occasion. Truthfully, there were people in there that said, man, you don't want to do that. What would your dad think hearing you say that? People, every time you articulate what's going on in your life, the people who respond to you are going to say something that's going to make things better. I promise you. And it's not that everybody are wizards, right? It's not that people in sobriety are the smartest people in the world. These are things that we would be telling ourselves if we could detach ourselves from the situation for 30 seconds. But we've never done that before, right? And people, I don't know that this sinks in, but when you really think about the process, something like that happens. You lose a loved one, right? As opposed to thinking about it and coping with it and dealing with any of this, divorce, all of it. The process of going to get dope, all of the things that you do immediately take you away from exactly what you're facing so that you can get away from it. It doesn't even necessarily have to be getting high. You could say, oh, that's it, man. I got to go. I got to go steal something to get high, or I got to go put this together, or I got to make the phone call. And you get into the ritual of doing the same crap every single time. That's how we coped with it for the entire time that we were addicted. right? Get in the car, put your keys in the ignition, drive down to the corner store, walk in, grab that 12 pack, whatever it is you do, right? That's our coping mechanisms. I don't have to be Tony Robbins to tell you that that plan doesn't work. It doesn't. What that plan does is ensure that when you finally have that fist fight, because you're going to have it, you're going to cope with these things. There's no way around that. You can put them away for a while, right? But you're going to have that fight. But when you do, you're not just going to be fighting that divorce. You're going to be fighting 2 deaths, the divorce, the boss that fired you, your kid getting high at school, all of the things that you have been pumping away into the back of your head and making sure that they didn't see the light of day for the entire time that you were on drugs. They're all going to fight you at once. And if you've been there and done that, and a lot of you here have, you know exactly just how ugly that is. You know exactly how ugly that is. I'm telling you, people, in that concrete box, I was dealing with 35 years of screwing up. You start thinking of how many birthdays you weren't there for, how many Christmases you weren't there for, how much money you stole from your family, all of the things, the lies that you told, the lives that you destroyed. Yeah, ugly. Yeah, ugly. But you own your past and you celebrate your victories. People, you want to start celebrating your victories, you better own your damn past, and you better do it quickly, because you're not going to move off of go, right? You're not going to even start the process until you can eliminate that substance out of your life. And you know what? I know that for the majority of us, the idea of saying to a group of people, even if you know them, much less people that you don't know well, hey, I'm really hurting and here is why. Oh, God, that's awful. Because what's going to happen is these people are then going to start talking to you one-on-one. We haven't had intimacy in our life. And I don't mean, sexual intimacy. I mean intimacy. Someone who cares about you, someone who wants to reach out to you, someone that wants to be there for you. We don't know what that is. As addicts, we have not had that in years. Some of us, maybe never. Even if you have a family that cares and that loves you, you weren't signing on for that. You were wasted, right? You weren't getting any of that. So I realize that this is going to be a process that's uncomfortable, to deal with the advice and the attention and all of the things that are going to come at you. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. Or you could put the keys in the ignition. You could drive down to the corner store. You could walk in and you could go grab that 12 pack. It works, right? I'm telling you, people, those are the options. The options are you either run away from your problems, at which point you know it, I know it. There's not a person alive, whether they're on the boat or not, that doesn't know that eventually you're going to have to cope with this. That's the fight. It's coming. Your best bet is to fight it immediately. By putting these things off, they fester, they get bigger, they get tougher, they get stronger. I would rather fight that fight without having to run away first. I want to be on full energy. I want to be engaged and in the moment. Why would I want to drag that out for the next 6 years, 5 years, 2 years, whatever the case may be? So I can't speak to every drug on the planet, people. I mean, I've abused them all, but the one that I was addicted to was opiates. And you know what happens about the 5th hour of dope sick? All of the things you've been putting off start coming through the front door. This is why people are dumb enough to rob a bank, because you get to a point where all of the mistakes and all of the guilt and all of the stuff that you've done starts hammering on you at once. Not to mention the fact that you're throwing up, you're shaking, right? While all of that is happening, we're no longer drugging that part of our brain that makes everything go away. And when we don't, not normal, just who we are as humans, all of those emotions start coming back. And on top of that, as drug addicts, we have a part of our brain that's going, oh yeah, if I keep reminding him, if I keep giving the automatic negative thoughts about all of the mistakes that he's done and all of the people that he's lost and all of the blah, 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 he's going to get high. I guarantee he is. You know why? Because he always does. Because he's never gotten through this before and he's not going to get through it today. You need to draw a line in the sand. You want to live your best life? There's no running away from it, people. There isn't. It's plain and simple. And is it unpleasant? You betcha. You bet. Dealing with issues is not fun. If it was, there wouldn't be a lifeboat. Wouldn't be a need for it. All of us, no exception, all of us have used substances as a way to cope. Well, those days are over. The better you get at coping with things and coping with them fast, the better a chance you have of living your best life. There's only two options. One of them sucks. The other one is unpleasant. One can kill you or land you incarcerated or put you in an institution or whatever else, how it ends. And the other one is a skill. Like everything else in life, it's a skill. But it's not a skill you're going to learn from reading books. It's not a skill you're going to learn from listening to me. It's a skill you're going to learn by doing it. And for me, people, and that's all I can ever do as the captain of this lifeboat, is tell you the things that worked for me and things that have worked for other people who have come on here and kindly shared their life so that you can glean some kind of knowledge from other people's mistakes versus just your own. The one thing that seems to be the common denominator is sharing what's going on in your life. If you're hurting and you tell people about it, you guys have been on the boat a long time, right? There's 400 of these shows. How many times have you seen someone in the comment section say, you know what? I feel better just having told everybody. Of course you do. It's how it works. You come here and you tell people what's going on in your life. You talk about your problems. That's called working through it. A lot of the verbiage of the self-help books and all of that tend to frustrate me to no end. But that's the truth, people. It's working through it. It's a great expression because that's exactly what you're doing. You're not getting over it. That's not how it works. You work through it. The demons don't go away, right, Niall? You just learn to walk with them. You learn that this is part of what you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. You have to come to grips with the things that you've done. You have to come to grips with the people that you've lost. If you think you're going to do that alone, by bottling up all of that emotion and by not talking about the things that are going on in your life, may I make a suggestion? Put your keys in your car, right? Drive down to the corner store. Seriously, because it's going to happen anyway. You're never, ever going to get through it if you bottle up the emotions that are causing you to use. If you don't get those things taken care of, you're just going to continue to do what you've been doing this whole time. And this may come as a shock to you, but you're going to get the exact same result. Nothing's going to change. 4 years from now, you'll be coming back to the lifeboat and you'll be saying, you know what, Captain, I think I'm ready to draw that line in the sand and to deal with the things that I have to deal with. The trouble with that is you will have 4 more years of crap that you need to deal with. All of the stuff that you have blown off and not dealt with will be there in a very, very real way. And Derek N is here. Derek, good to see you. I was just talking about coping mechanisms and what it's like in prison, when you're forced to try to cope in a concrete box with very little other than, your wits. Really, people, it was the worst time of my life, and it was the best time of my life. I wouldn't trade it. And honestly, as crazy as that sounds, there was not one day in there that was enjoyable, but it was hands down the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned to cope in the worst situations that you could possibly have to endure. And for me, it set me on a road that has got me wearing a silly hat and talking to all of you about sobriety. Without me being in there, there's none of this. This is not something I could be doing if I didn't spend that time in there. I would love it. I would love it if I caught maybe one person before that happened. If I could get maybe one cat or one lady to listen to this and say, you know what? I don't want to have to do that in a prison cell. I think I'm going to just, face the demons that have been causing me to drink. Make no mistake, people. It's stuff from your past that fuels your addiction. It is the wood, right? It is the fuel that burns your addiction. There is always something underlying. Sorry. Better than an orange jumpsuit. No question. Silly hat, 10 times better than an orange jumpsuit. Or in the feds, you wear khaki, right? The uniform in the feds were actually, it is the same uniform made in the same factory that people in the Air Force wear when they're not on duty. So it's like that khaki button-down short sleeve shirt and a pair of khaki pants. I remember leaving there and saying, if I never see khaki again, as long as I live, I will be happy. You know, if I go in to go shopping and I see anything in there that's that color, there's no way. If they're giving it away, I'm not wearing it. You know, sure. Where are we at? Michelle Mello. Okay. So this is where I have a problem. I even have a lot of guilt taking pain meds. When it is my physical pain, when my physical pain is too much, so much guilt and questioning. Is it emotional or physical? Well, here's the thing. If the physical pain is bad enough that you really need to take pain medication, then you got nothing to feel guilty about. People, I do not badmouth taking pain medication because you're in pain. I badmouth addiction. And if you break your femur in half, I'm not going to suggest you take Advil. There are things on this planet that require pain medication. There is a reason. I don't care what you believe. If you believe we crawled out of a puddle, or you believe that there was divine intervention and that God created us, however we came into being, we have opiate receptors in our body for a reason, because there are levels of pain that can't be coped with without opiates, plain and simple. And if that's why you're taking pain medication, then I don't think you need to feel guilty. Now, in my particular situation, I started out that way, but I came to realize that the pain that I was dealing with wasn't physical pain anymore. It had gotten to the point where my body created pain so that I would continue to give it pain meds. And I went to pain specialty clinics and I did all of I did trigger point injections and all of the different things, acupuncture. I tried every other method of trying to alleviate pain, only to believe that there was nothing else that was ever going to work other than opiates. When it really became cut and dry for me was in that same concrete box. You know, when I had 16 to 18 months off of that crap, I realized that, you know what? I have some days that my back really hurts. And I've got some days where my knees aren't what they used to be. I've had a lot of surgeries. But truthfully, for me, and I'm not saying this is you, Michelle, I promise you I'm not, because there's no way I can do that. I don't know what's going on. You know, you might not know what's going on. But for me, the guilt was driven by a lot of stuff other than just, the guilt of taking medication because I was in pain. I was taking heroin to try to get high and to try to make myself forget. That's what I was doing. All of the terrible things I had done in my life, being a crappy father, being a terrible son, being a rotten brother, and just being one of the most dishonest human beings that God ever created. For me, that's what heroin made me forget. And my experience has been for a really long time with a lot of people that the needle doesn't give you a damn thing. It takes things away. And if you can figure out what it is that it's taking away, for most people, you can start that road to recovery. But if you're in pain, hon, you don't have anything to feel guilty about. If you need medication because you're in pain, for the love of God, take that medication and don't feel guilty about it. But if you're crushing them up and snorting them, or if you're washing 3 beers down with it because that really kicks it in, then you need to start evaluating exactly, what's going on with you. But it's a very personal thing. There's no way from sitting here I could ever begin to tell you
that falls under the curtain
of
different perspective, and everybody's road is different to sobriety. It really does fall into that category because if you think you're addicted, most likely you probably are.
And her next comment was, I still have issues. I try to stay awake so much that the rest of my body suffers. Unfortunately, I know I have a problem with them. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you, and I appreciate that. I really do. Because that kind of honesty, Michelle, says a tremendous amount about where you are.
Exactly.
Truthfully, when you can come here, and this is really what this entire show is about, what you just said, right? Dealing with your issues, not running away from them. To sit here and say, to be honest, I know I have a problem with these. That's the start. I mean, that is really where this whole thing starts, and not just for you, for every single person in the world. When you say, I know I have a problem with these things, well, then we can start working on the solutions to that problem. So if it's more than just treating pain, there are a ton of other ways that you can treat pain without opiates, unless it's a pain that's so bad that you can't treat it with it, and those pains exist. But it sounds to me from what you said that maybe you need to start looking into some other ways. And there are other medications out there that are more difficult to abuse. I'm not a doctor, but I don't think there's anything on the planet that I haven't taken to avoid pain. And I don't want to make this that show, but if you send me an email, Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. That's Captain Tommy Scoville at gmail.com. I will be more than happy to talk to you about a lot of other things that I did that helped me get through the pain, and continues to help me get through the pain because of the number of things I've done. I broke my neck twice. Like I used to ski at a pretty high level, and the number of bones and breaks and all, I can't begin to tell you. I don't know how many surgeries I've had. I'm not even kidding. Like I lost track of the number of surgeries I've had. So I could probably talk to you about that, and I would be more than happy to. So please shoot me an email, and God bless you for your honesty, because there's no way to even put into words just what a huge thing that is. It's what we're talking about today. That's the whole show, is coming here and telling people, or going anywhere else for that matter, but telling other addicts exactly what you're going through is the start of all healing. It's how you cope. It's how we cope, right? People who have in the past not done it correctly, this is how we cope. And you're starting that process. God bless you. I have done a lot of emotional healing, and I feel pain go away, but then it is back. It's always going to come back, Michelle. It's always going to be coming back. There's no getting around that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to go away forever, because it's not. And lying to you would be a serious disservice. I still have days that suck. But you know what? The longer I'm sober and the more I concentrate on this part of my life, those days are getting really few and far in between. But they're always going to be there. And, Niall did a much better job of saying what I just said. If you go back and watch any of the shows that Niall was on, he did a much better job articulating what I just said. But you're always going to have it. It's never going to go away. And it's not something that we can promise, but what we can promise.
Yeah, she's got a lot of the hardware in her back. She said she just found a doctor who's willing to take her hardware out. So that might be a good step to take. Again, we have to say that that's between, always your medical doctor and all that stuff. We're not doctors, we're just sharing our life experiences and what we do to get, to help ourselves.
You want to hear a great comment? Because I love this. Michelle, you're awesome. She said, I so try to hide from this channel, but some days I have to share. I thank you all for sharing. Helps me to admit 100%. What a great comment.
Yep.
I love that. We're doing something right if you feel like you got to hide from the lifeboat.
Yep.
Honest and truly, we're doing something right if you feel you got to hide from the lifeboat. And I get it. I get what you're saying. And again, that level of honesty, that's the start. Anyone that's been here long enough can tell you that when I first started the lifeboat, it wasn't the lifeboat, it was the Tommy Scoville show. But way back in the beginning in July, I wasn't doing any of this. I really wasn't. I was talking about the history of who I am and things like that. It took a long time before the boat kind of, became this. Once Mark became my partner, and once we started to do some live stuff, it really kind of morphed into something completely different. But in the beginning, I came and just opened up about who I was, because I didn't want a month down the road for someone to go, man, I looked you up and found out blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm not hiding anything about who I am, right? I'm just going to put it all out there and go from there. But the number of people that used to say to me, you don't have to tell people everything about your past. And it was more than just the fact that you're going to find out anyway. It was, if I didn't own my past and if I didn't let it all out and just let the light shine on all of that, I knew where I was going to end up. And it was right back where I started. And it's not a fun process. There were shows that once I was done, filming the thing and I sat there like this with my finger, just like not wanting to put that one up, just it was that level of honesty. It's like, oh man, you're really putting that out there. Or when my friend Number 9 died, you can go back and watch that show. That was one of those shows that, I didn't want to share that, but I knew what was going to happen if I didn't share that. I was going to end up screwing up my only hope. And to this day, still, my only hope of remaining sober is on those days that are so painful and on those days that hurt so bad, I have to come here and I got to tell people why I'm hurting and I got to be viciously honest about it. And every time I do, by the time I hold up the cat in the basket, I'm usually ready to, to continue with life. And sometimes I don't even get feedback. Sometimes I just stare at this little thing, and don't even really, get all of that engaged. So very often you don't even need advice. You just need to say what's going on in your life. You just need to type it in. You just need to let it out, right? That's the key. We joke about it all the time on here, but there's never been a psychologist or a psychiatrist in the history of man who said, what you need to do is bottle this up. No matter what, don't talk about it, right? Don't admit to it. Don't do it. Just keep putting it away and pretending that it's not there and you're going to get better. That's never been said because it's absolute horse feces, but it's what a lot of us try to do, isn't it? We just try to keep putting it away, and we can put it away by just ignoring it and trying to pretend that nothing's happening, or we can avoid it by, chewing a handful of pills or drinking a bottle or whatever the case may be. But the reality is that this is the best way to do it. And I love your comment, man. That's going to go into my my collection of favorite comments ever. I try so hard to hide from this channel. Honestly, that made my night.
It's one of those things, you said it just perfect. It's just, sometimes just saying it. 99% of it is actually just that. And then, you can listen to what everybody has their advice, and it does help. But the fact that they're giving you advice really is doing, the biggest thing it's doing for you is letting you know that you're not alone, no matter what that advice is. It could be telling you to go, I don't know, get a pooper scooper and clean your yard up. But at least you know that you're not alone. And I think that's a big part of it. And I really hope that people see that that's really what we're doing here. That's, we're not alone. We want you guys to know that. And that's why we continue to show up every day. And believe it or not, like Tommy said, when we need it, we know that we're not alone either. We come right here, call each other or whatever we need to do. We just make sure that we're not alone. Because that's the biggest, in my opinion, that's probably the biggest drawback to going back to your drug of choice. I really think it is.
Yeah.
Just being lonely, period. And that can happen in a public place. I ain't saying being around people. I'm saying being around somebody that actually, can hold you accountable, can understand what you're going through. So
I want to hear a great question. Cody English says, I feel bad. Why would anyone care? It makes me feel guilty. Cody, great question. And I can answer it so easily. This is a great question. In fact, people, this should be everybody's question. If you think about this logically, this is everybody's question. Why would anybody care? And here's the answer. The reason that this place is called the lifeboat, right? It's twofold. Number one, if a ship is sinking, the only hope you got is a lifeboat. And it doesn't matter whether that boat's pretty, right? It doesn't matter how many people are in that boat. The second reason we call it the lifeboat is because all of us are in the same boat. Every single time I see an addict struggling, I see a beautiful human being needing to get out, and I see myself. That's it. Bottom line. Why do I come here every single night and do this show? Why is Mark going to drive 70 home tomorrow to make sure that he's here on time? There's no reason to feel guilty. We do this for two reasons. Number one, we need it. And number two, so does everyone else. We're addicts, Cody. We're all drug addicts. We have all made mistakes, and the rest of society won't do what needs to be done. They don't want to deal with this. They don't want to hear about it. So why do we do it? Because there, but for the grace of God goes I. I spent 3.5 decades screwing up. So once I got sober, I found an overwhelming desire to try to help anybody that was in the same boat, right? Mark said the exact same thing to me the first time we talked. This was something that drives both of us. And it's not just the two of us. This is basically, there's a reason that the 12th step, right, of any 12-step program says, having had a spiritual awakening because of this program, we felt the need to bring that to others. Now, I don't, cotton to the entire thing. I've told you that. I think that it's an outdated program, but they've done amazing, amazing things. And the best thing they ever did was that 12th step. Because if you stop at 11, you're going to end up going back. But when you start realizing that your sobriety is as much tied to you as it is to every other person that you can help, then you're going to want to help people. And it's going to make a ton of sense to you. And you will never feel guilty again for asking somebody's help. Truthfully, when you're asking someone's help, you're helping them. May not make sense to you yet, but it will. I promise you. You stay sober long enough and it will make so much sense. It's another one of those things that it's really hard to explain, but the people that get it, you don't have to explain, just like trying to explain, what drives us to continue to do stupid things, even though we know it's hurting us. It's the same type of thing. But Cody, you do not have to feel bad, my brother. I promise you. And Michelle says, knowing you are not alone is huge. Boy, you are right.
That's a big thing, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's the biggest thing that does help us is just simply knowing that you're not by yourself. My support system, that's one of the first things that they did for me. They made sure that I didn't have 2 seconds by myself. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what it was. When I was in early recovery, I mean, my dad came over here and sat at my house for over a week. So what I'm saying is that is something that is, it's needed, honestly. It really is, especially in early recovery. But, just know that there's other options there. Because I understand that not everybody has the support that I have received in my life. I can't tell you how lucky I've been on that end of it.
The comment section, Mark, is
I'm
going back. I swear to God, I'm going back and reading this entire.
Yeah,
I am going to reread this entire comment section 10 times. It's like everyone at once is all talking about how the power in realizing that you're not alone.
Yep.
People, Cody, you heard that right? Why would anyone do this? Because the power of realizing that you're not alone, the power in realizing that you're not defective. Niall, go figure, had a great comment that said, addicts are the most moral people on earth. Most, air quotes, normal people do not suffer the way we do morally. You're damn right. We've talked about this so many times. We have a PhD in screwing up. We've got a PhD in what it means to do the wrong thing and then have to live with that guilt and try to drug that guilt away. The average person, air quotes, normal person, doesn't understand that because they may, like I've said before, they got 3 or 4 or 5 really good screw-ups in their entire life. We were good for that before lunch, right? Every single day for 3.5 decades. I lied and hurt more people by noon than most people did in a lifetime. And this was a daily thing for 3.5 decades. I see that in the spiritual world. When you are waking up and seeing things differently, you search for others that see. We are never alone. We just need to realize that. And it is hard in this world. Michelle, it absolutely is. And you know what? I have a sneaky suspicion you're going to have a harder time hiding from this channel because you sound a lot like a crew member to me. I'm just saying.
Yep.
This is, once you realize that you're not alone, if you knew how many times someone will say to me, why do they keep coming back every night? I'd say, you know what, man, trying to explain that to you, you would have to understand what it means to be us. And honestly, if that could be explained, there's your best-selling book, right? Write a book explaining addicts to people that aren't addicts, and you're going to make $1 billion. But I don't think you can write that book. The really funny thing is you step on the deck of this boat, and that book's already written. Everybody here has already read it. They don't need to hear one word of it.
They already know.
Why do people keep coming back? It's a very difficult thing to explain, and if I had to explain, you wouldn't understand.
Yep.
Like, that really is what it boils down to.
I think we kind of say it, but like people can empathize, but they can't sympathize with us, and that's the wall that we try to go across, and we do a fairly good job of relaying that to people. But at the same time, we also know that unless you are a recovering addict or have been through something similar, you're never going to understand completely. You just won't.
Amen. Yeah, well said. I don't know that I could say anything after that. I mean it. Thank God it's at the top of the hour, because that pretty much sums it up. People, this has been an amazing show. Yep. And not because of me. But this has been an amazing show. You guys tonight were absolutely on fire. This comment section, this is why I keep coming back. For real, right there. In about, I don't know what it is, about 8-10 hours or something, they will repost all of the comments, and I promise you, I am going to read every single one of them. There's not going to be one that I missed, because I feel like as much great stuff as I read today, I'd be sick to think that there's a comment today that I missed, because it's just been that kind of night. And as crazy as this is going to sound, people, tomorrow night's going to be better. Tomorrow night's going to be better. Tomorrow night at 6:30. So not quite the same bat time, but it will be the same bat channel. It's going to be Wednesdays with Niall. It's my favorite night of the week. And I'm telling you that really from the bottom of my heart. We Are the Book.
Great one.
Space, nice.
Yep.
Space Diesel, great.
Yep.
This will take time to explore fully, but the numbers don't lie. You're absolutely right, Niall. Boy, do this for 3 more hours, people. But we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to go and eat something. But tomorrow night, 6:30, same bat channel. We will be back Wednesdays with Niall. Between now and then, people, reach out and try to save somebody. If you're wondering how to do that, I read a good comment earlier. A guy that said, you know what, I told my BFF about this channel. Try to bring him here. That's how you reach out and save people. If they're needing this channel, bring them here and watch what happens. Right? You guys will fix them. That's how it works. We'll keep talking. You guys will fix them. True story. So between now and then, reach out, try to save somebody. It's what we do. I'm Captain Tommy Skilgall, on the other side of glass.
Mark Wages.
And this is a cat in a basket. Say goodnight, squirrel. Good night, everybody.